Okay, I think it's on air now.
Yes.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Brian, and I am here with David, and would just like to share David's story on some of his connections and how he came about the channeling state and how he met Kalask and as a group of entities. And I would just like to turn this over to David and let David share his story with you guys. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Um, the way I arrived to channeling those particular entities that call themselves Kalask, who are a reptilian group that originate from the Draconis system, from the star called Subban, um, is that I've basically always been interested in reptilians as a child. I've been obsessed with dinosaurs, and my path to spirituality was actually through Satanism, so what are the dark paths? And then my reintegration into the light kind of led me into an idea of integrating polarities. And this is just a group that's very big on this issue. And in 2008, I had a dark night of the soul, is I think what I call it. Probably my second one, and probably the darkest year in my entire life. That's the first time I kind of felt them. And on one day that was in the autumn, I think, the autumn of 2008, when I was feeling especially dark and very destructive and very down, probably the depths of darkness I've ever been to. It was the day that I looked in the sky in a point of absolute despair, and I saw a comet that started flying pretty slowly and then took off in another direction, which I have reasons to believe was a spaceship. Back then, I didn't realize that. It was only later that I came to that realization, years later, actually. But at that moment, my attitude changed for a second. I was not feeling exactly good, but I was feeling changed. And when I went back to my car, still feeling pretty agitated, and I looked at the back mirror of my car and looked into my own eyes, I saw an expression in my eyes that looked like somebody else was there. I don't necessarily would suggest that somebody had overtaken my body or anything like that, but I was feeling a presence, and I was feeling like I'm looking at somebody else's face, my own. So there was something in my eyes. That was the first time I would say I have made conscious connection to something. I had no idea what it was, and I didn't know about reptilians back then. I had known about extraterrestrial life for quite some years at this point, but not this particular species. So in 2009, I started researching more and also because of that experience, and came across many writings of reptilians on the internet, which of course is many parts very negative and outright racist at some points, but there was also some positive stuff, so I kind of felt intrigued to go further. And I came across channeling about 1 year later, in the early 2010, I believe. I was familiar with other beings like Bashar and Abraham Hicks, who speaks to other beings, but um, I didn't find it that intriguing. I liked it. It was interesting, valuable information, but the energy didn't get so close to me. But in 2010, I came across Barbara Marciniak's books, and they kind of for the first time sparked an interest in me in the whole process of channeling and just doing this kind of thing. I didn't exactly think that I was going to do it myself at this point, but it struck me as a possibility that I could do this, and that there are many people who are doing this. And I became kind of addicted to channeling and researching a lot of channel material from other people who did this, and also comparing them, and just basically studied it like a subject. And again, a year later in 2011, when I was also experiencing very deep meditations, I basically dedicated all my time to meditating and doing grounding exercises and stuff like that, and general spiritual exercises. At one point where I was lying in my bed and kind of passed out a little bit, this is the same state that I usually reach now when I channel. It's like a semi-conscious state that I suddenly reached, like in the mornings when you just wake up and you're not fully awakened yet, but you're not fully asleep, like almost like a lucid dream. Um, and I was just lying there, and I suddenly saw this face of this being. He had dark greenish scale that then later turned out into more bluish scales. They were metallic. They all seem to have a metallic coloration to their scales. And He was just standing there. He was wearing some robe of black and red color, which they later explained to me are the colors of their cult, or maybe we would call it a religion. It's not really a religion in their sense, but it's something similar. And he was just standing there and sending me an energy. At first, I thought he was trying to kill me because of the negative energy that I experienced from other people talking about reptilians, and the energy seemed not to fit very well at first. I feel I was being electrocuted or something like that. Like I remember as a child, I touched an electric socket, and it felt pretty similar. So very painful experience actually at first, but. Well, it took me a while before I could adjust to the energy and realize they weren't trying to kill me. It was simply their way of connecting to me, and the energy was so different that just my understanding of an energy was very painful. It's maybe like little child just sitting there, and an adult person comes up and yells at the child. Maybe they're even yelling in a happy way, but the child is still scared because they're yelling so loud and they don't understand that the child can't be yelled at that loudly because it's pretty sensitive. So that was me in the point, the child that just couldn't cope with the energy at first. But after we have made some adjustments and other meditations, so at a later point, they showed me a planet. They just sat there, I saw them again, and I saw a planet, a blue planet with rings, almost like Saturn. But it was entirely blue, and the sky seemed purplish. I guess it's their planet, they never told me, but although it looked a little bit like Earth, but the words I heard were literally, "We have been here before. This is a very nice place." This is all I heard. I mean, it's actually quite a cute sentence, but the way it was being broadcast, it's almost like you're standing in a throne room and the king is yelling at you. It was very intimidating at first, but I liked the energy. It was very powerful and expressive. And well, after that, I struggled communicating with them back and forth. I also connected to other beings. I've always liked felines. As a child, I liked cats and stuff like that. And so I also connected to feline beings. And they also connect to me up to this day. I haven't channeled them consciously, but they are always in the back of my mind. And also, of course, connect to other people on other planets, other human beings from various star systems who are more in my presence at some point. Earlier, more the Pleiadians, then more the Syrians, but that's really something that comes popping up now and again. But as for this particular reptilian group from the Draco system, there are also other reptilian groups that connect to me, but this particular one, I started to connect more closely with when I came to realize that there was a need of integration between this light and dark polarity, because that seems to be their thing. They used to be pretty dark when they first connected to me in 2011. They was rather malevolent. They come from the old draconian viewpoint, which regards human beings as well inferior.
And but, David, just to interject, they call it from their perspective the Empire?
Yes. Okay. That's usually the term they refer to. They not necessarily name it Draconian Empire, I guess, because it's like self-explanatory for them, because, well, that's the empire they're a part of. So they usually just say the Empire when they talk to me, or the respective German terms when they're talking to me directly, or when I channel in German. But when they take in English, they usually just use the word the Empire when they talk about them. And when they came from this point and changed over to a more benevolent view, which they like to call balanced, there's this other reptilian entity that talks through Rob Gossier called Trap Boyitne from the Capella system. They're also familiar with them, so they know each other. And Trap has also confirmed this to me. And he likes to call entities type 2 or type 1, depending on if they're more interacting with people. They would be probably type 2, so they're not negative, but they do interfere with people's free will. They don't necessarily respect everybody's free will unless they take a stance themselves, because they're big on responsibility. But they also like to interfere with others if they find it necessary. At first they were rather malevolent, but when I connected more to them, they became more benevolent, and so did I, and we kind of met somewhere. And in 2014, I first time consciously channeled them. And they started actually speaking through me. And I did some automatic writing at first, which was easier. The first thing they started telling me was they need to ground more. So that was like the first thing I heard in my mind: ground yourself. It was like a very dominating, aggressive energy almost. But I mean, and you knew it was for my benefit. But yeah, get grounded right now. That's it. And I first had to do that. And once I did that, actually, it was very helpful. The reptilian energy for grounding. That's really what I like about it. It's very easy to ground with it. And once they came to that point, and I came to that point that it wasn't able to establish a sufficient connection, I could do some automatic writing. They explained that I was connected to them, that they basically gave us the reptilian brain, because at the base of our brain we have this reptilian brain. Yeah, that they said that's from them. And when I tuned more into that, which happened in 2008 when I first connected to them, which is actually something that's coming through right now, which they're telling me right now again in confirmation, that at this point I connected the first time to them more directly because I was in a state of mind where the reptilian brain was very activated. So that's the way to connect to them. And after I did some automatic writing, I also channeled for myself and a friend verbally and recorded it for myself, but I'm not sure if I would publish that. It's in German anyway, so most people would not understand it. As most people at Channel 4 right now understand English, and I channel in English for them, and they seem to be able to access my vocabulary either way, so they can use whatever they find in my brain, reptilian or German. And that's actually an interesting fact that once I channeled, and I was speaking English, but I was using words actually that I didn't consciously remember I even knew those words in the English language, because my vocabulary is not as big in English as it is in German, because it's my second language. But they actually used words. They must have found them somewhere in my subconscious mind. I had no idea what those words meant. I had to actually look up those words that they used when they spoke through me on the internet later on and find out what was actually being said. So that was a nice confirmation to me that I was actually channeling, because I was using words that I didn't consciously know. That was all still in 2014 when I was practicing this and was very conscious. I would not have thought about going public with it. I was just very excited about this being a possibility for me, because I've been so interested in channeling all the time. It just didn't occur to me to do it myself. By this point, it became a possibility, and they offered this to me. And then in early 2015, it became more clear to me, but also some other beings that I connected to suggested that I socialize more with people on this planet, more with humans, more integrated into society and stuff like that, also be walk around on a regular basis. And when I started doing that, I felt that also my extraterrestrial contacts increased, and I found it easier to connect out there as well. I'm still kind of struggling with balancing that, but yeah, I'm working on that, and I feel it becoming easier the more I reach out. And at a certain point, I actually decided to take channeling classes from another person who offers them. I don't know exactly if those channeling classes helped me to arrive where I am now, or if they're going to help me to arrive at another point in the future. But what did definitely help was the encouragement from the channeling teacher, who suggested I was actually already channeling and I was actually doing it right, and I was just needed to increase more in self-confidence, actually just do it, you know. And I was quite surprised at how well I was doing on the channeling exercise and telepathic exercise that I was given. I realized, oh, I can actually do this, and maybe I could do this for other people as well if it worked so fine. So yeah, I did it more for friends until I finally actually joined the Yukolo community, and there was the point where in some chat room I was talking about them, the Kalask, and I was talking to another person on there who was interested in them and just asked me questions about them, because I had just told them that I connected with reptilian beings. And once I did that, and I started translating basically what they were telling and showing me to this person who was asking me questions, suddenly the information that was coming in so fast that I could no longer translate it sufficiently. Like somebody who's really talking really fast, and you're supposed to translate them to a live audience, and you just can't keep up. And at this point, we just gave up and just didn't even try to understand what was being said to me to translate it, and just let it flow through me without really trying to consciously even understand what I was saying. Then they suddenly came through me directly, and the other person didn't realize at first that he was talking to reptilians. He didn't realize that until probably a few minutes later or so, while he was talking to them, and then he realized he was actually talking to a group of reptilian beings, and then he started asking them more questions, and that's like probably the first time publicly that they were sharing so much information about their race. I'm kind of sad I didn't record that one, but it was so spontaneous. If I would have set it up like that, it probably wouldn't have worked. It just had to come out spontaneous like this.
Yes.
And well, you can find some of my channelings that have been recorded so far. I think 2 of them at least, and probably a session into another recording on YouTube. On my own channel, you can find at least one of them. And I think...
yes, David, did you want to go ahead and give that out? How people can find you also. You can go ahead and do that now if you want.
Yes, and of course, probably the easiest way is to go on the Yukolo website. That's humancolony.org. And on the left-hand side, you'll see there are different sessions that you can book. There's sessions with 3 different people. I think Kim, James, and myself. And you just click on sessions with David, and then you arrive at my site. Not much info at right now. Maybe there will be more in the future. But right now there's at least a link to 2 of those channelings that were recorded, 2 YouTube links. And also there's a symbol they gave me, a contact symbol. I just drew it out on paper. When it started coming to me, I was doing some other channeling exercise, and that symbol just kept coming up again. And for like a whole day, I was doing nothing but drawing that symbol all the time. I just couldn't stop doing it. It was fascinating, was it? The way it looked like it was very strong. And I realized it was that contact symbol. And I gave it to somebody else from the website who is a bit more savvy with computer designing stuff. And he designed the symbol very nicely. The Kalask also said that they are satisfied with it, and that symbol was put on the website as well. So you can look at that if you're interested in connecting with them yourself. They're interested in connecting with basically everybody out there, with everybody really who wants to make contact with beings from the Draconic system or reptilians in general. They're very keen on that. So you can just go there, again, humancolony.org, sessions with David, and look at the symbol and meditate on it. And also, there are some chanting, I think they gave, where they just spoke in their own language. I'll get back to that in a second. But what I would first like to mention is, now we're talking about this chanting, there needs to be some history backup on that one. When I was doing the channeling sessions, and being in a very deep meditative space after doing some process work of working with my chakras mostly, and toning also helped me a great deal, just toning sounds for different chakras with my mouth while being in a meditative state. When I did that, at first they started speaking through me. I didn't speak in English or in German, they spoke in reptilian. And it turns out they're telepathic, so they actually have a spoken or written language, but it's more a traditional language for them, an ancient language that their ancestors, I guess, spoke, and they now still speak it in a ritual setting. So they do have some kind of ritual where they're speaking in this strange songs. It sounds a bit the mixture between a hissing snake and somebody chopping woods. That's the easiest way I can describe it. I think there's also some stuff of that on YouTube, so you can go and check it out if you can find it somewhere. Probably there will be more in the future, I don't know yet, depending on them really. But they seem to like speaking it, but it's difficult for me to speak it because it's very taxing on the throat. It dries up easily, and I get very exhausted from that, so I have to be careful with that. But that's the first thing that actually started coming through, and it took me a while to convince them that they needed to speak a human language to me so I could understand it and translate it for other people, because at first I just had their language. But yeah, that was also an interesting experience to hear what their vibration sounds like, because they can get pretty loud when they do that, and pretty aggressive at times. It's I guess just part of their nature. But yeah, of course, now we're working more on their speaking, and at first they also started speaking more unclearly, like with almost an accent, you could say, where they was pulling the S's very long. Yes. We're working on that. I think it has become better by now, but if anyone should ever have difficulties understanding them somewhere, for my older stuff, I have full understanding for that. But yeah, just for the info, if that stuff is difficult to understand for you, it is getting better, and by the time you're listening to this, it might already have increased a great deal.
Yes, I want to expand on that. I find it a lot of the channelers out there that are really opening up for them, allow them to come through. I have noticed that you're right about the tone, the dialect. You know, they have to get used to your body and how they use it, and pretty soon it starts to get more clear and clear, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I've seen it in other people too, maybe not exactly like that, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. So yeah, I'm still practicing with that, with the clearing of the voice. That's really the biggest part. That's on me to change that. Otherwise, the information that's coming through seems pretty clear to me. They seem to have an answer for almost everything they're being asked, which surprises me because I have always no idea where it's coming from. It's usually just on me really to feel comfortable with giving out this information that's coming through me, where sometimes I feel like I should supposed to know why it is there and why it's coming through me, and if it's really making sense or helping people. So I can be a bit hesitant at that, but it's really for me to step aside more because they seem to know what they're doing quite nicely.
And also, when you're in trance, where's your consciousness? Like when people are speaking about certain ideas and stuff, is your mind, like what do you see in your vision or your third eye, or where do you hear the sounds sometimes, or are you off in a distance somewhere else?
I'm kind of clear visual, I think, is what I
Okay.
call it. I don't hear sounds exactly. I mean, unless they're speaking with their voice to me, which is very rare occurrences. Usually, if I see something, I'm mostly clear sentient, so I feel it. But it's like a mix of those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes they show me stuff when they're talking about people who ask questions about personal connections to extraterrestrials, for instance. Sometimes they show me those extraterrestrials they're talking about, or the nature, especially when they talk about their own planet. They show me the planet and how it looks there and how they look. That I find the most fascinating because they're a pretty majestic species and they have a commanding presence and everything. Their planet is, well, in a special way. Yeah, it's really hard to describe it, but like it was a general term, I could describe details as they have already done before. But
So they are an ancient race, definitely.
they're very old. Yes.
Wow. And they've always been the group that's connected with you. They evolved from a third or fourth density.
I think so. Yeah. So, well, they told me that kind of everything actually evolves from the highest density, from the source, and actually comes down more like descension than ascension, and then comes back up again. And they're kind of in the middle of there. So, but they have definitely been third dimensional and fourth dimensional and fifth dimensional. Now they're sixth dimensional.
Yes.
And when they were in the lower dimensions, I guess they've also been first and second dimension. I think that's just how it works, the way I understood them. And they had different culture back then. They used to drink a lot of blood from other entities. Now they're what we think of as Brazilian. But back then they lived off the blood of other entities, almost like a vampire. They just seem to suck it from people and they be more warlike and well, they were just very in tune with the old draconian views
Yes.
of well what we call imperialism of taking over and all those things when they were in the lower dimensions. And I think because they actually changed this attitude is the reason they are now in a higher in the sixth dimension, as far as I understood them. But this is probably something you should ask them yourself.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I've always, the past couple of years, I've had a fear of like reptilian energy. And then there was very few people that I met online that really brought it, explained it in a way that could be more respected and honored and understood. So I thank you so much, David, for being a voice for the reptilian energy, because we don't have it in a way that's perspective, that's more positive and more neutral. We always get
Yeah.
to hear only the negative side, but not that other side.
Yeah, that's also dear to me to bridge that. And also, they're very big on that because they're coming from this particular side, and now they have altered their perspective. So they're kind of unique in that way of being willing to talk. I trust them. I mean, of course, there are a lot of people out there who think that somebody who channels Australians is automatically possessed and they're messing with me or whatever. But I can feel the energy, and I know they're honest with me. They've been pretty dark. They're not pretending to be all light and love. They say where they come from, and they just newly reach this point of balance. So they've been at a different point and they openly say that. And I think if they were trying to fool with me, they would not say that openly. So that's why I trust them even more. And I can just feel it. They're being truthful with me.
Yes,
And
you're right. It always comes back to how you feel about it and how you're
yeah,
feeling vibration, how your body, integrates.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I'm so proud of you. It's an honor just to speak with you about this, because I don't
Yeah.
find too many people that really can open up like this. You know, it's more of a negativity, not a balance or neutrality. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's been hard work. It's not like it fell in my lap, but I mean, I think everybody can arrive at that point if they want to. I mean, nobody's perfect, or everybody is perfect in their own sense. So it's really just a matter of very focusing. I mean, if you want to become a bodybuilder, you have to train every day. If you want to become a scientist, you have to study the science every day. So it's the same with reaching this type of spiritual maturity or even channeling. It's just a matter of practice. If you really focus all your energy on it and have a genuine interest in it, you're going to arrive there sooner or later. It's really just about dedication, I think.
Yes, you're right. It's the commitment, the passion, the dedication, and which direction you want to go with it. Definitely. It's Kalask, that group. Is there like one main leader of the group that kind of surrounds, or the others surround him, and he's the spokesperson, or is it just all one energy combining?
it's more of a group mind, I think. When you're speaking about the Draconian Empire, they definitely have a leader. They have a royal family, I think, even something like that.
Okay.
But it's not like they're inheriting it. They have to defend their positions. So it's not like here on Earth where people just inherit something. And they seem to look down on that because they see it as weakness.
Mhm.
For them, it's more like a title that you can define. Like defend. Like in sports competitions, that's the comparison they gave me. That you have to defend your title like that regularly. I don't know if they themselves have such a head of state or something like that. You probably have to ask them that yourself too. I've never asked them,
Yes.
but
No. Yeah. Is it their culture is they're very keen on honor and loyalty, respect,
yes,
kind of like that. Yes.
yes, royalty,
Proud.
pride too.
Yes.
They say they're very proud race, and their respect and honor is very important to them. Kind of like attitudes like maybe you find here in the military. I guess they could call their society militaristic. Like it plays a big role. They also center around family a lot. So not just like they're bloodthirsty creatures that like to wage war. There's also an emphasis on family and collective mind and binding together, but still honoring the individual achievements pretty highly. So with decorations like in the military, so yeah, it's pretty similar, I guess. So yeah, those values are pretty important to them. So if you
Yes.
approach them, just show respect. That's important.
Yes. I'm really honoring that within myself. Is that's why I reach out to a lot of these races now because I see that behind the scenes they're really benefiting. Believe it or not, they're really benefiting humanity and these other races in the universe because they're helping us get over a lot of our fears, a lot of our doubts. They're helping humanity become stronger, encouraging us in a way that's, becoming more tougher in a way, toughening up.
Yeah,
So,
they're about
yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
yeah. I hope so. They're. I mean, they obviously benefiting from it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it because, as they said, service to service always also service to others, and service to others is always in a way a service to self. So I'm sure they're getting something out of it. But yeah, they're apparently willing to also step forward and share their achievement with humanity because they have seen that it's actually benefiting them in the long run.
Yeah.
So it's definitely helpful for a lot of people that are involved in this. And I like this quote. I think it's from Stephen Greer, who gave this example that the United States needs more an embassy to Iran or North Korea than to Great Britain because the relations with Great Britain are already good. So having an ambassador there is not that important than having one in the country where the relations are pretty difficult. I think he used it in comparison to relating to other extraterrestrial species that might not be that um, benevolent in general. So I think this is also an aspect to keep in mind when you're approaching this topic, because you can't just say that those races out there are the bad guys and that just creates a negative situation. You need to have some kind of connection to them if you want to resolve the conflict. So, which is one
Yes.
of the main reasons I started connecting out there to reptilians in the first case, because I want to understand them and understand what they're like. And apparently, they also came to the realization there's something in humanity that's actually useful, especially here on Earth, because we have such a genetic variety, which seems to be something almost everybody out there who is interested in this plant is very keen on the genetic variety here and how it plays out.
I'm a big believer in that. I think an open dialogue always with these different races is so important. Building the protocols and how we can, how Earth, humanity connects with these other races. I mean, it's so important, especially going into the future. I mean, we need this. We need to start somewhere. The groundwork on
Yeah.
reaching out to them because they, as we reach out to them and build that trust and respect for one another, it's so much easier to come together than trying to blame another over something of the past, you know?
Yeah, that's a big thing on this plant. I think it's also something they mention over and over again that we need to learn responsibility and not putting blame on others, not necessarily just reptilians, but we also blaming on ourselves and each other all the time and not really going anywhere because we don't see the connection. So, I mean, of course, that's something I, as an individual, am also still guilty of. That sometimes I blame other people for issues that come up with me where, oh yeah, because I experienced that in my past, now I got this. So, but in the end, I mean, we all create our own reality, and even if we were born with something, we decide to be born that way. So we are ultimately responsible for absolutely everything. So
Yes.
it's not like you cannot, be angry at another person. If you're angry, you should express the anger. It's also something Kalask have mentioned over and over again that don't keep the anger down and try to meditate on peace and happiness when you feel angry inside. It can actually increase. Just let it out, really express it also to another person if that's necessary. But then come back to the realization that you are the one who are in power all the time, because responsibility is ultimately power in the end. And power always comes from responsibility. It's almost interchangeable.
You're very right, spot on. It is. It comes down to personal responsibility for ourselves. We have to own up. We have to take responsibility for our actions, and not so much blame other people for it, because that's the thing. It's just really taking command. That's why I say taking command.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they would like that. Ultimately, on a collective level, it means taking responsibility for the planet we're on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't make sense if we keep blaming the government, but we don't do anything. And we allow them to do whatever they want to do instead of just becoming, what we would like to be. And once we do that, there will be no more outward interference. We don't have to maybe have a violent uprising or something like that. I mean, that could change something, but probably not in the long run. And if he would simply take charge, and then those who would try to tell us what to do when we already have a plan, they would simply fade away. That's my firm belief, and I still with that. So
Or join.
yeah,
Join the movement.
that's even it's even more beneficial. Have them join us. I mean, they're
Yeah.
welcome. I
Yes.
mean, whoever is
Yes.
in there, yes.
Yes. It's keeping open dialogue.
Yeah, and if you go really ahead to the top, from my research and from my connections, I've come so far to the conclusion. I wouldn't put my hand in the fire for that, but so far it seems that at the top of this whole hierarchy, which is also involved with this planet since a long time, including groups such as the Anunnaki or different fractions of whatever you want to call them, Cabal, Illuminati, Shadow Government, whatever. There's a strong influence of those beings that are also in charge of the Draconian Empire. So I'd simply try to go to the source of this whole energy as far as I could. As far as I understand, and that's also something that Kalask have told me, so I have no real other source for that, but that's something that came from them, is that above there, the hierarchy, and that's something they themselves as a group still connect to, but which has also been within the Draconian Empire since a long time, is that they're like demon-like entities. I guess we would call them demons. They're like non-physical in higher dimensions, so it's not like darkness ends at the physical.
Something that we hear about from the Bible.
I guess I'm not that familiar with the Bible or various scriptures. I mean, I researched
Yeah,
and
scripture,
studied them
Holy
for a while.
Scripture. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I guess you could call him that. And also, I think they mentioned briefly an entity called Lucifer. I guess it was the
Yes,
entity that's mentioned in the Bible. Yeah,
yes. There's
but
a
they spoke.
yes. Go ahead.
Yes, they spoke of the entity like it's not necessarily a dark entity. I don't quite remember because I'm never fully conscious in those states, but I do think that they said that it's like a lighthouse, like a light in the dark. So they kind of made this comparison. I didn't understand it myself quite sufficiently, but to explain it here in great detail. But as far as I understand, they do have some kind of well cult, religion, spirituality where they connect to beings that are also in higher dimensions than them, and not all of them are light. I mean, you could say that light beings in higher dimensions are like angels. I mean, a lot of people in the New Age community are very interested in those beings. I do
Yes,
think that they're real. I don't connect to them that much myself, but I do think that they exist. So, on the other hand, they're also beings in the same level, more with a darker polarity, and you could call them demons if you wish. And people can connect to those entities. I mean, here on Earth, you have those satanic groups who connect to them more seriously, some more in a in a staged way. But there are many people who connect to them also in other worlds. And within the Draconian Empire, it seems to be that those entities are even above the physical reptilian entities. I don't know exactly what they are or who they are, but so you can go further than that. But when it comes to the physical dimensions, from my experience so far, I mean, there might be something that I have no idea of. I'm just relating my own experiences from my studies and from my telepathic connections. Is that at the top there is really this royal group of the Draconian Empire that's in charge of this thing, but they're also having problems. So not like everything is hunky dory and they're just being powerful over everybody else. They have their own issues. Um,
yeah. I wanted to expand on that. Though the empire itself, is it? Are they starting to branch off a little bit more,
what I got
like
from them,
other
yes.
groups? Yes.
Again, it's probably something you could ask them yourself, but they said that there is like a friction or something within this group, not in the Kalask themselves, but they like are part of like a splinter group that came away from it. And also from what I read about and heard about Ivan Teller, I think he is also connected to reptilian entities from the Draco system. I have not talked to him directly. I mean, he can get in touch with me if he hears that. But from what he described about those entities from the Draco system, they sounded pretty similar to Kalask. So I'm pretty sure that they're either part of the same group that caused this friction, or maybe branched away from the original intent of the Empire, the Draconian Empire, or that's even Kalask themselves. I'm not sure, but it sounded pretty similar actually to what they told me about their interests and where they're coming from and stuff like that.
Yes. Does Kalask feel like coming through right now?
If you give me a few minutes, they're interested. I mean, I told them in advance, of course, I was going to do this, so it shouldn't take me too long to get there.
Okay.
Maybe give me a minute. All right, can you hear me like this properly?
What's that?
Can you hear me like this?
Yes, yes.
Just have to make sure that I'm in the proximity of the mic.
Okay.
Because they're like moving around a bit.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that might also be interesting. Or what I do to connect to them is I use my fingertips. I run my fingertips over my head and over my neck especially. That helps to connect the energy more strongly and to send energy surges down my chakras.
Kind of like this?
Yeah, except over my head, over the back of my head.
Okay, like that. Okay.
In my neck, yes.
Interesting.
They come through the neck. They come through the neck.
Yeah, that's beautiful how they connect with you. So they come behind the neck? Over the neck?
Yeah, in the back of the head and in the neck, on that area. That's where I feel the strongest connection. So I can just go ahead and do it right now. So
okay.
And bring them through. So see you later, I guess. Kalask!
Greetings.
Hello.
Greetings, my friend. This is Brian.
Greetings, Brian, yes.
Yes, I very much wanted to speak with many of you.
Yes, we have understood this. The vehicle has informed us of your intention today, of your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We are also interested in this ability to share our message with you, and as far as you understand, there's the possibility of more of your kind of listening into this in a later point of your time, yes.
Yes, it's being recorded, yes.
Good.
What would you like to begin with, or just share a little bit about yourselves and your decision to kind of move away or kind of branch out from the Empire?
We are very ancient people. The reptilian kind in general is very ancient. The Draco Empire has always had a very rigid rule. But there has been changes within the Empire recently. Well, from our point in time, not necessarily recently from you, but there's been some attention on details of where we want to move as beings. So there are different of opinions right now within the empire of where different groups are branching off in more what you consider light perspective. We like to call it neutral because we like to keep it neutral, a balance point, because balance is important to us, is something we have realized. The main point, of course, plays the emotions. Yes, you understand on your planet, the emotion is very widespread. Yes, emotions on your planet is probably the most strongest factor among all people in the entire universe, even for human beings. So it's quite extraordinary, which is one of the main reasons so many people are interested in you, including us. So emotions have not played a more important part in our species, in our race, in our group we connect to. Generally, the empire understand doesn't necessarily evolve only reptilian beings. There are also other beings connected to this group. We're not necessarily talking about the empire right now, but more our group specifically. So let's not go too deep into that. But understand there are also groups that are not reptilian, but still they're part of the empire. And they're also more to the what polarity, what you consider dark, and there's not much emphasis on emotions. Many in the empire that are more of a what you consider traditional viewpoint, yes, they
Yes.
are more considering themselves to be adhering to the old code of honor. That's a good term in your language, and they see us maybe as traders. We definitely don't see us as traders, like we trade something. We are just taking what we are seeing as the honorable thing to another perspective with different methods than they do. So we're not reforming anything. We're just having a different understanding of what it means to be honorable to those ideas. And that includes using something that you call emotions. Many would say that emotions are maybe un-reptilian. Reptilians not supposed to have emotions. That's not even wrong. It is not their existence. It doesn't even exist. Like many people on your planet consider certain form of sexuality to be wrong. You're not supposed to express your sexuality in a certain way, or even not at all. I mean, there are people in your world,
Yes.
especially religious people, who say that sexuality itself is wrong. Understand that emotions have played a similar role in the empire as sexuality does in your world, where it's deemed as something maybe not immoral because we don't use morals in that sense, but unhonorable, dishonorable, and even to a point where many would say that it doesn't exist. It's not even real. It's an illusion. It's fancy stuff. It's made up. Maybe like some people in your world that are not very open towards spiritual concepts at all, people who consider themselves materialist, and to them everything is airy fairy. I think that's the word you use, and it's not something believable and truthful, and it's just strange stuff people make up. It's
Like,
similar to this.
kind of like if you don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Yes, people with this mindset. Yes, for us it would have been emotions are like this. They don't really exist. It's just something that people make up. It's a weakness of the mind. It's a sickness. Love is, for instance, considered the greatest weakness, probably. So, like, we're looking for a word in your language. We have used the word in the vehicles language, but in the English language, we're struggling to find a appropriate word for that. Let's say, well, the word in your German language is Wehrkraftzersetzung. But when we're talking about the English language, we can only use a term to describe it roughly. It's in your military when an individual is sabotaging the driving force behind the military when they're not necessarily spreading enemy propaganda, but let's say they're being pacifist. They're telling their war is useless. Many of what the hippies, for instance, did in the Vietnam War. Yes, you
Oh,
understand. Yep.
to kind of like reject war,
Not even in
like
that sense.
spread
Not
love,
even
not
so.
war.
Yes, that's probably a better example. Like undermining the military capacity. You understand that term?
Okay, okay.
In the same way, so we have considered it, or the empire has considered it at the time we are more adhering to that concept that emotions in general, and especially the emotions that you consider positive that stem from love, like happiness, love, and
Compassion.
bliss, joyfulness, compassion, yes, and those things are weakening the capacity of the fighting forces of the empire. So this was
So,
considered
but do
almost an
the,
act of sabotage to have emotions.
I was going to understand the empire. Um, like you said, the emotions themselves, we would perceive it more of a darker nature, but yet maybe it's just the language barriers. Is it they feel something, but they express it differently in their bodies. They interpret it differently from species to species. Could that be correct?
When you're looking from a very higher dimensional perspective, yes, but if you're looking from a very higher dimensional perspective, then
Okay,
dark and light is the same thing. Even
right.
love and fear would be just a reflection of each other. But most people in lower densities don't look at it this way. So we wouldn't even say that there was emotion. So there was just a suppression of emotion. And
Okay,
if you suppress emotion, it's not just for the reptilian kind, it's also for other species such as yourself. If
right.
you suppress emotions for a longer period of time and you want to lose to move back to emotions, yes,
Yes, to
then
find that balance of power, to find the balance within all of us that we don't have to push and pull so much. It's more of a neutrality, but yet we can express ourselves freely and enjoy that freedom and know that and take responsibility more in command. Yes.
yes, understand you reach this point when you reach balance, yes. We also understand that your world has been immersed in a fair amount of darkness in the past, which is why many of you are more turning towards the light side, especially in your so-called New Age communities. But
Yeah,
understand
many
it can also
religions
cause
of
an
the past.
imbalance to the other side. Yes.
Yes, it feels like the religions of the past. We go back to these, the light and dark, and many in the religions, we go back to Lucifer and the idea of Satan, and that these beings actually do exist. They are these beings that did, in a sense, or do.
Yes, the entity you call Lucifer is very real. Yes, this is an entity that actually exists in high dimension. It's not a physical entity as we see it. It's more like a what you might consider a non-physical entity from a higher dimensions. Yes, but those entities are very real. Yes, many of the entities of your stories that seem like fairy tales to the more modern or what they consider modern man, but
Yes, they paint Lucifer and Satan as so negative, so evil, and that they blame everything on these two beings, not realizing that there was a greater universal perspective that they can see beyond that now. That's not really why do the religions place so much emphasis on blaming these two beings in creation?
yes, understand it's also a two-sided perspective. From the more darker perspective, there's also been a lot of judgment towards the light, a lot of fear of the light. Like the light is the weakness, and people who are immersed in light are weak, and they're what you consider sissies in your world. Is that a word you use?
No, I see it from a grander perspective. I see it now as that those can also be blinded by the light.
Yes, this is also very good word because we ourselves have been blinded by the light, so to speak. When we started moving into the light, we got afraid of the light
Right.
because you understand when you shine light in a dark room and maybe you have not cleaned your room for a long period of time, it's becoming very dirty. You don't want to see the dirt in your room, so you turn off the light. And when suddenly someone comes and pulls the curtain away and you see all the dirt in your room, you become angry at the person who pulled the curtain away and become afraid of the light because it's showing all your dark corners in your room that you don't want to
Yes.
see where all the dirt is. And this caused a lot of retraction. So maybe if some entity that's considered pretty light, let's say maybe a human Pleiadian or an angelic beings or beings who have polarized towards the light side pretty much, or maybe a fairy type of being,
Yes, yes.
comes as someone who considers themselves to be more dark or immersed in darkness and shines light on them, even if this was a positive intent, because understand there have also been warlike interactions. But even if someone comes with a very loving heart and just wants to show those dark beings love, and
Yes.
sometimes they come from an arrogant position, like I'm love, I'm light, I'm better than you, and
Yes,
you
it
need to
gets too
become like
airy
me,
fairy. Yes.
and they themselves express energies that are considered more dark and imbalanced, but understand that is why there is an attraction to this. However,
But
even
there's
if
still
someone
there's
comes with an open heart, there can be conflict, understand?
yes, it's almost like there's still some judgment within them.
Yes, on the subconscious level, exactly. And this is why it is brought out on both sides in the moment, because the light judges the dark judges the light, and those beings, the dark and the light, judging each other. So they become afraid of the person that's forcefully shining light on them, basically.
Okay.
So this is why many conflicts have arisen in the past, and this is one of the main reasons many planets have been blown up, which is very traumatizing to everybody involved. Also,
Yes.
us understand we also experience trauma. And this is one of the main causes of the Orion Wars, which many of you have been involved in. We ourselves have lost a lot there. We have gained a lot there. We have made many experiences there. So this is something that's also dear to us to resolve, that conflict that stems from there.
So through all the wars in the universe that were taking place and are on some level still are, from a point of view, it's everyone's all those beings and all those all those species. They're always evolving and learning from what happened.
Yes, of course, understand.
Okay.
War is something pretty destructive, as you can see, most likely in the Orion system, which, in our opinion, has been more engaged in war than any other system. But there has been many clashes there. Yes, we've
Yes.
also had many wars in our system, on the Draco system, and others that we have been in the meantime. Currently, we are also more connected to the Orion system, but all those wars also teach lessons. Understand, it's not necessarily that war just destroys. War is a great teacher. If you are experiencing war for a long period of time, everything is being destroyed and there is not much positivity in there. But if you're having peace all the time and no conflict, it can become very sedative, yes? Like when you're sitting peacefully in front of your television set.
Right.
Understand there are many people in your world that are living in areas such as maybe the Middle East, where there's much conflict and there maybe you have to pay attention to the bomb that's dropping on their house and destroys everything. So they're not very healthy conditions because of that. That's not good for them. But people in the what you consider the Western world, especially the Europe and United States area, yes,
Yes.
they are living in what you might consider a peaceful area, but they're sitting in front of the television sets. They're becoming weak and fat and can't do much and becoming very lazy and not wanting to change things. They're eating bad food and they're they're what you might consider peaceful in a sense. They're not experiencing any conflict, at least not on a personal, direct level. And still, they're degenerating. So you see, you need balance there. Some conflict can be good, like when you're doing sports, you're engaging in competition in your work. Yes, this is something we also have. Competitive sports.
I think I do feel it's healthy for competitiveness, but yet sometimes people take it to the extremes where they see themselves as self-righteous to a point where they don't give credit or due to others that they're competing against.
Yes, this is something we also have been immersed with, yes. This is something we have been doing as seeing our position as the only right one. Understand, we have a society that many of you might consider a fascist dictatorship, yes, where it's considered that the state is always right and it can enforce everything, and then everything functions perfectly if it is done in the
Absolutely.
right manner.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you can also inflict those things on other people. I think you call this imperialism, yes? When you go
Yes.
to other areas and impose your way of living on them because you think yours is the right one.
Like a total dictatorship. Yes.
Yes, it's a form what you consider dictatorship or maybe mm, tyrannical system. With a tyrant, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Tyranny, I think is what you call this, yes.
Yes.
A
Yes.
tyranny, yes. This is something we would not necessarily consider as negative as you do. When you heard the word tyranny, it's something very bad to you. But to us, it's also often been beneficial if the tyrant was a good tyrant, but because this relies on the tyrant being a good person, yes. So if somebody can impose tyrant ideas on everybody else, you do it this way, or you will be annihilated. You will be deleted from society if you don't function as I want to or as we want to. And understand, yes, we have a group that controls us. It's not necessarily just an individual, but yes, it's the same principle of a tyrant. You can have a tyrant like your Nero, the person called Nero in your ancient
Yes.
Rome.
Yes.
Yes, it's not very good if you have someone like this, and that's giving out negative orders. It's not very being responsible. Understand, somebody who's decadent in that sense would have been removed from us because we don't allow somebody to inherit a position from their ancestors. There also needs to be fight for a position to make sure the right person gets it. So then it's easier to have a good tyrant, maybe like your Julius Caesar. Yes, is that a word?
Yes.
It's somebody who has achieved great things for ancient Rome, if you want to stay with this example, unlike maybe Caligula or the Nero person. And they also have expressed ideas you might consider dictatorial, nowhere close to what we have in our place, but probably more than what was there before him in the ancient Roman area and with the senates. Yes, he had
Yes.
more control and he achieved greatness. He had built an empire. Yes, something we would see as more positive, great achievement. So if you want the right tyrant, you can achieve great things. But still, if you are forcing your opinion on others, you have to make sure that your opinions are the right ones and the good ones. And really, it's more a subjective term. But I understand many in the empire still see this as being the only right thing, being the reptilian way, so to speak, and others
Yes. I
should
wonder.
have this too. It would be better for them as well.
Yes. So in the empire, those leaders, those consuls, did they only saw it from one perspective? Did they never allow others to really have an opinion, or they never listened to others in the empire?
There are no consuls in that way. It's more like royal families and connections and particular people with the right blood, so to speak. So there is a family tie, but still there's a lot of improvement that's being done both genetically and
Yes.
on a personal level, but let's not get too deep into there. But yes, it is right. They
Right.
have not accepted any other position besides their own one. Yes, as you consider fascism to be, yes, the right thing. The state does only function if everybody adheres to the right code of conduct. Otherwise,
So
there
from
is
an
called
empire's
chaos.
yes, from chaos. From the empire's point of view, from the leaders or the one, the families, do they feel that it would be a sign of weakness if they gave in to the people or to those beings of their own around them?
More than that, yes, of their personal, from a personal viewpoint, every reptilian would consider it a weakness probably to give in, or at least everybody inside the empire. Certainly, everybody of Kalask would still consider this to be a weakness. But if another person is considered stronger because they have proven themselves to be stronger, there is honor given to those people. And maybe like in the
Yes,
wolf pack, you understand the wolf pack, the,
yes, yes, very
the
much.
alpha wolf becomes the alpha wolf by defeating the others, and then it's not considered weakness to give him the
Okay.
power because he has proven to be the right leader for the group. So it's also considered better for the group if this individual is in charge. Yes, it's
Is it
considered
also
best
for
for everybody.
protection?
For protection,
Yes. Is it also from a family of the power around it, the power base? Is it more also seen as powerful just to show other races how powerful they are?
maybe not in the direct sense to show others that they are powerful, but it can lead to that if you attack somebody. They can understand that there maybe was a fear in them because understand if
Okay.
somebody is provoking an attack, they're not necessarily just doing this by building up a military force. This is something that's a viewpoint being shared by many light entities in this universe, that people who are showing up with a fighting capacity are inviting an attack. Yes, that can be the case. We understand it now. We did not understand this in the past, and we would also have considered this weakness and cowardice to think in this manner. But now we can see a truth in this. But still, even if you're just being fearful and think you're very peaceful and nice, but everybody else out there is very evil and not bad, but even outright evil and dangerous, and you're just being a light and nice person, you're also being imbalanced, and you will
Yes,
also
because
attract the other
yes,
side of the coin, so to speak.
yes, yes. It's like we come across too shallow. It's not. It's not. It's not an
Yes,
honoring of ourselves because we're not truly ourselves if we're pretending to be something we're not. Yes.
yes, this is also pretty common in your peoples now that are
Yes.
connecting with the light side and not wanting to see the dark side. Yes, they're being pretentious. Yes, and then when they're being pretentious, then can attract the dark just as much as when they're putting out the idea that they want to have a fight or they are being angry and they want to defend themselves. Yes, this both those things can attract hostility from others.
Understood. Understood. So that's why now the universe it's finding more of a balance within all of us. It's that the balance of
Yes.
respect and honor of ourselves first, because without the self, if we're always projecting outward but not looking inward and really working on ourselves, the conflicts within the self, then it's like there's no hope there. There's nothing left. We're pretending to be something we're really not. So you're right. It's something about the balance within each individual, each being. Yes.
Yes, it all starts with the individual and then goes to the collective and hopefully finally to the entire galaxy and universe. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Understand we are still more interested in our species, so we are still adhering to the Empire's command in that regard, that we think the reptilian species is important, yes. But also from our reptilian perspective, we need to cooperate and move more into a state of balance with other things, but hopefully still we hope
Yes.
that other people also take this path, and it would be beneficial for them. We think so, at least.
Yes, in the long run, it will be. I can see it. It's a projection yet in the far flung future, but from ours, and probably from your perspective, it might be our past. But we are eventually going to unite more as a species of these blendings of races again, and even from a greater point of view. But it's beautiful because we're starting to really respect and honor one another and putting differences aside and seeing what we truly have in common.
Yes, understand. This is the main point in the entire universe right now. It's maybe a contradiction in your English language, but we don't really see a way to formulate it in another fashion. But the main point in the universe right now is, from our point of view, right now in our development, is to integrate the disintegration, yes, to create
Yes.
harmony with the disharmony. So you understand that within your brain, within the reptilian brain, and many other entities that are adhering to those concepts of darkness, because you understand separation is a dark concept, yes?
Yes.
Competition comes from separation, and it's a dark concept. Unity is a light concept, and harmony is a light concept. If you want to unify the light and the dark, then it means you have to unify something that is separate. So you have to separate, so you have to unify the separation, yes?
Okay.
You have to embrace the parts of yourself that want to separate. It's really difficult to explain this in your language, but that's probably also the reason that so many of you struggle with this concept.
Yes. We do at times. Yes.
This is something that we have also struggled with because we have seen unity as impossible because there's always been separate ideas, at least in the lower
Yes.
dimensions.
Yes, and not to take away from that. It's even though there'll always be some types of differences, but at least there's more of moving toward a cooperation over competition. It's moving more toward a, like you said, it's the balance. It's just finding balance where we can
Yes.
all get along in a way that everyone is makes it a win-win. Everyone benefits, not just the hierarchy of few.
Yes, also understand that not every win-win is necessarily perceived as such by everybody. So maybe some people would not perceive a win-win situation the same as others do, but still it would be benefit to them if they would tune into a certain energy, even if it was cause destruction at first. Yes. So there's even a win-win situation in a lose situation. Yes. So I said if somebody loses a war, it's something negative for them, but they might learn something from this they would have never learned if they would have won this war. So even in a lose situation, there's a win.
Okay, okay, understood. Interesting.
Yes. This might
Yes,
not be easy to understand for many of your kind, but
not
this is
yet.
one of the
We're
reasons
learning.
we are here. Yes.
Yes, I'm willing to learn. Definitely.
Yes, we are also struggling with some concepts that you call love and compassion. Yes, we are also learning in that regard.
But yes, I was going to ask you in correlation to what love and compassion is from a reptilian energies. Do they see it more as strength and honor?
Yes, it's a very good concept. It's not necessarily that we would see love as strength and honor, but maybe a light species that consider themselves light and love would consider love to be the highest thing, and we would consider yes honor and strength most importantly, and maybe
Yes.
power and responsibility to be most important things. So willpower, especially willpower, is considered very highly among all reptilian races, even those that are considered more lightful or nice. It's a typical reptilian trait. Everybody considers willpower to be an important character trait.
Yes, yes. And the one last thing was humans becoming more vulnerable, not in a state of giving up their power, but in a power in a way that's shows strength through their vulnerability, meaning they're putting themselves out there in spite of fear. They're showing their strength and honor by really allowing whatever comes. They're to it's taking command of themselves, responsibility, but not pushing so much. It's really finding themselves within themselves, but it's a vulnerability, uh, going beyond their fears and their doubts.
Yes, they're showing strength by this and courage and thus gaining honor, yes.
Ah, so do many of the reptilian races, would they honor or do they honor humans or humanity, those who speak up, those who take command?
Yes, this is something we would consider more honorable than someone, so to speak, trying to crawl up our asses. Yes, I think that's the term from your world, yes. We
Okay.
don't appreciate ass kissing, so to speak. Somebody
No,
stands their ground. We have more respect for that, yes.
yeah, it's just people will see it as a fear, and people will see it as that which you spoke of, but it's really, when we're vulnerable, it seems like we're not hiding from anything. In a way, we're not really hiding.
Yes.
We're
Do not
not
hide your
hiding.
darkness.
Yes.
Do not hide your light. Be truthful, honorable with everything. Shine light in the dark corners of your room where your dirt is. I think you call it shadow work, yes, in the New
Yes, the
Age
shadow work.
communities. Yes,
Yes,
this is
yes.
something we are very big on. Yes, we are very keen on this type of work. It's helping you at this point and us too.
Yes, I see that so benefit to many others out there, is the shadow work is so important. It's really for, especially for humans. I mean, it's
Yes.
something that has to take place within the self for them to clear a lot of this shame and guilt that was projected many years, from societies, from cultures, from churches, religions. But the thing that you're not good enough, where that shame and guilt, just moving beyond it, moving beyond it.
Yes, especially in regards to religion again. Sexuality has also been shaped as something you're still dealing with, the way that we are dealing with emotions. There's also something
Yes.
that has been shrouded in mysteries for many of you who don't understand the concept at all. It is strange to us, maybe the same way that you would consider it strange that we find love to be a scary thing.
Understood.
How long have we been speaking this time?
Oh yes, I was going to ask you about that. Probably need to wrap it up in about 5 minutes.
Yes, we can go longer if you please, but I think it would be appropriate at this point if you rehydrate the vehicle for a moment. It's becoming dried up. So if you would give
Let's,
us
if
some
you don't
seconds.
mind, dear friend, just for
Yes.
this session, let's go ahead and bring David back. And I first want to say thank you for most honorable and that which you are as a species. You're very loved and appreciated in so many ways.
Yes. Strength and honor to you as well this time. Until next time we speak with you.
Yes. Namaste, dear ones.
Kalask! Hello, Brian.
Hello, David. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to go ahead and start to close this, wrap this up. But this is really good. And I want to thank Kalask very much for their energies, for showing people and coming through today. I think it was very important. And to your story, just to get a glimpse of how this started for you and bringing this together. Thank you, David.
You are welcome, and I'm glad to
And
share everything I can get and share their messages especially.
yes, and one last time, how can people reach you? In what way?
Well, again, you can go to the website that I mentioned before on Human Colony. You'll find my Skype there, you'll find my Google Hangouts there, you'll find my email there. You can use any of those contacts to get in touch with me. I do private sessions for people who want to do that. You can donate to me if you want to do that there. You can even schedule a Hangout session with me with several people if you like that. Um, yeah, and basically, you can also ask me about my channeling. I'm open to talk about that for anybody who wants more details on what I have not answered sufficiently in what I said earlier.
This sounds good. To all those out there, thank you and much love and appreciation. Thank you, David.
You're very welcome, and greetings to everybody. And don't hesitate to get in touch with me or ask about reptilian species. They're really not all that evil and dark as many might think out there. And even if you think they are, please feel free to talk to them. They're more than willing to connect to you.
Thank you.